The millionaire watches in horror as the beggar girl saves a boy from blazing car flames. Victor stared in disbelief from the sprawling windows of his penthouse, the city sprawling below him like a vibrant tapestry of chaos. But now, the white-hot glow of disaster flickered just a few blocks away, sending shock waves through the crowd. It was a scene that seemed torn from a movie, the kind he'd grown sick of watching from the safety of his luxury. A car was engulfed in flames, the insistent wail of sirens blending into the welling panic of voices. In that moment, as smoke billowed into the sky, a figure darted forward, a girl in tattered clothes, her unkempt hair dancing wildly. It was Leela, a young beggar girl known to the streets. She was a strange being in this world of polished suits and high-end boutiques, a flicker of life caught in the shadows of Victor's silver spoon existence. His heart raced. She was running towards the car, her soul ablaze with determination. Victor felt a lump forming in his throat. He could hardly breathe as he watched her throw herself into the flames of the unknown. The boy inside was trapped, fighting against the seatbelt, a desperate look in his eyes. Leela's courage boomed like thunder in the silence that enveloped Victor. How could she be so brave? The crowd gasped, faces twisting in shock. Someone yelled. A man reached out, trying to pull her back, his hands trembling. But there was no stopping Leela. She crashed against the burning door, flames licking at her fingers, smoke choking her. Victor felt sick. Each heartbeat echoed like a drum in his ears. This was real. This was life, raw and uncontained. Leela was risking it all, and all he could do was watch, hidden away in his glass tower, suffocated by guilt and privilege. Suddenly, a loud crack split through the air, the sound of the car's tire exploding. Screams erupted from the crowd, a wave of terror washing over them. But in that chaos, Leela persisted. With a grunt, she yanked open the door, pulling the boy free just as the blaze surged forward, threatening to consume them both. Victor gripped the railing as if it could hold him steady. This girl had a fire inside her, one he'd long extinguished in self. Her bravery struck a chord deep within him, rapidly forming connections he had buried long ago. But what could he do? He was a recluse, a phantom in this world. The weight of his isolation pressed down on him, and for the first time, he questioned his choices. What was wealth without the courage to act? As Leela stumbled back, pulling the boy to safety, Victor caught a glimpse of her fierce spirit, clashing with the prejudice lingering in the eyes of the onlookers. Even now, they whispered behind her back, judging her every move. Yet beneath the surface, Victor felt something shifting. There were whispers of a tragedy he could not shake, a past that haunted him, a family or lost connections. Maybe this girl was the key to unveiling truths long kept in shadows. But as authorities arrived, sirens blaring, a powerful figure emerged, intent on silencing Leela's tale of heroism. A chill ran down Victor's spine. He had to decide, would he remain a silent observer or risk everything for the girl whose courage lit up the darkness? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button down there to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming your way. And since you're here, leave that powerful like that helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every incredible person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Victor's heart hammered in his chest as he leaned closer to the glass. Leela had saved the boy from the flames, but chaos churned around them. The crowd still caught in disbelief. Sirens wailed, Officers rushed in, and a powerful figure emerged from a black SUV that had screeched to a halt nearby. Victor squinted. The man strode forward, exuding authority. He was tall, his sharp suit reflecting the power he commanded. Victor recognized him instantly. Gideon Chase, an influential figure tied to the city's elite. He had the kind of money Victor only dreamed of, the kind that silenced truths under the weight of gold. "Stop her!" Gideon snapped, pointing an accusatory finger toward Lila. Panic rippled through the crowd as security surged forward, flanking the girl who had become an unexpected hero. Lila was still catching her breath, the boy cradled in her arms. Her face, marred by smoke and dirt, held a fierce determination, but uncertainty flickered in her eyes. She was a mix of strength and vulnerability, and it tore at Victor. He felt a swell of emotions, a desperate wish to intercede, to defy the facade he built around himself. But then, something shifted in the air. A sharp crack, louder than before. It was the sound of something breaking. Victor's eyes widened as the strange smell of burning rubber filled his nostrils. His heart dropped. Lila, knowing she was in danger, scanned the area, but in that moment, the world seemed to slow down for Victor. An explosion of flame erupted from the wreck, radiating heat in waves. The crowd screamed and stumbled back, a collective gasp reverberating through the streets. Victor stumbled back, nearly losing his balance. He couldn't believe it. He was frozen. For a brief second, everything felt surreal. Lila ducked instinctively, shielding the boy with her body. But then, it happened. As the fire blazed, a figure emerged from the chaos. A woman, smoke-caked and swathed in shadows. Her eyes locked onto Victor's, and he felt a chill slice through him. It was his estranged sister Clara, the one he had tried to forget for a decade. She had vanished into the streets, running from the ghost of their family tragedy. "Victor!" Clara screamed, her voice harsh against the backdrop of shrieking sirens. "You need to stop him." "Stop who?" Victor's voice was hoarse, confusion overtaking him. "Gideon!" Clara's lips trembled, urgency fueling her words. "He's behind this. He set the flames to silence what Lila knows." Lila glanced at the woman, her expression a mix of surprise and suspicion. Victor's heart raced. What did she know? What did Gideon have to do with Clara's reappearance? Gideon's sharp demeanor faded into a shadow of unease. "Get her out of here," he shouted, moments before he charged toward Lila. Everything spiraled. Without thinking, Victor bolted from the balcony, down the stairs, his every instinct igniting. The weight of years spent in isolation crushed down on him. But now he was a part of the chaos, a thread woven into this tapestry of urgency. As he thrust himself into the crowd, the girl he once judged from afar was standing strong. And then there was Clara, back from the past, with revelations that could tear everything apart. The flames crackled behind him, casting an orange glow against his reticent soul. He had to make a choice. Would he allow the past to consume them all, or would he step into the light, confront the demons binding him? The roar of the flames grew louder as Lila's defiant shout echoed in his ears. "You don't own me!" But could he fight a man like Gideon? A man who could bury the truth under layers of power? And just then, a voice broke through the chaos, loud and clear as a bell. "You don't know who I really am," Lila yelled, trembling but unyielding. Victor's heart stopped. What did she mean? What truth lay hidden beneath the surface, yet to be unraveled? Victor's heart stopped as Lila shouted, "You don't know who I really am!" The words hung like a fragile thread, ready to snap. The crowd paused, their breaths catching in their throats. It was a revelation, hanging in the air, heavy and electric. Yet Victor felt the heat of the flames behind him as panic surged again. "What do you mean?" Clara's voice broke through, fear painted across her ash-streaked face. She didn't take her eyes off Leela, searching for the truth behind those words. Leela hesitated, her chest rising and falling. "I'm not just a beggar. I'm connected to all of this." Victor's brain raced. What could she possibly mean? Thoughts collided. As Gideon advanced, his expression darkened. "You're just a girl in rags. You think anyone cares about your sob story?" The crowd tensed, muttering, casting judgment through narrowed eyes. Leela, trembling but fierce, squared her shoulders. "I have the evidence, the proof about what actually happened." Victor's chest tightened. What did she know? His instinct screamed for action, but before he could move, a loud explosion interrupted the conversation. The car exploded again, sending debris flying. Leela ducked instinctively, shielding the boy. Chaos erupted. People screamed, scrambling backward as fire raged uncontrollably. Victor's vision narrowed on the unfolding nightmare, and then something caught his eye in the chaos. A flash of color, unexpected and shocking. A piece of paper, the kind people use to exchange messages, whipped through the air, carried by the sudden gust from the flames. It spiraled, landing at Victor's feet. He picked it up, and as he opened it, his heart dropped. The paper detailed a transaction, a horrifying deal tied to his own family. Names he never thought he'd see again, stitched together by fate. Clara's name, scrawled in shaky handwriting. And right below it, Lila's real name, Victoria Chase. His sister's lost twin, someone he never knew existed. Wait, cold realization washed over him. You're my sister? Lila, the brave girl saving lives in that moment, wasn't just some street kid. She was part of his own blood. Shockwaves rippled through Victor as he staggered back, the paper crumbling in his hands. The flames behind him danced in laughter, consuming everything. His entire world tilted. "Clara, she can't be. No, it's true!" Clara interrupted, her voice rising against the cacophony of chaos. "Our parents, they tried to separate you. Leela was hidden away to protect her from Gideon. He knew too much." Gideon's furious gaze hardened. "You're both fools. This is bigger than you. I won't let a child's play take me down." Victor watched as the pieces fell into place, but his heart raced for another reason. Leela wasn't just a beggar. She was swallowed by the same tragedy that ripped him apart. His pulse echoed in his ears, throwing him deeper into uncertainty. Before he could respond, a scream shattered the air. A woman, her face marked by scars, stepped out from the crowd, her silhouette a haunting resonance of the past. "Victor, you must listen." Her voice was like cold steel. "It's not just Gideon, it's bigger. They never wanted you to know." Victor's mind spun. Everything he thought he understood was crumbling like ash in the wind. The flames roared around him, threatening to engulf all they've uncovered. And in that moment, he faced a harsh truth. The fight was no longer just for Leela or Clara. It was a battle against a darkness that lingered far deeper than any flames could reach. "Run!" Clara shouted, her eyes wide with urgency. "We need to get you all out!" But Victor stood frozen. His entire world had shifted. The truth was a beast, and nothing prepared him for what lay ahead. Lines blurred, loyalties faded. Would he turn his back on the girl who saved a boy, or embrace a sister he never knew existed? And as the flames continued to rage, an unseen danger closed in, waiting to strike at the newest revelation. He had to decide fast before they lost everything. Victor stood there, frozen in shock. The flames danced, casting eerie shadows around him. Clara's words surged like a tide, crashing over him. "You must listen!" But the enormity of Lila's revelation squeezed the air from his lungs. His sister, his lost twin, stood just feet away, cradling the boy she had saved. Gideon's furious face twisted in disdain. "You think this matters? You're just a couple of kids, drowned by your own delusions." His voice sliced through the chaos, threatening to swallow them whole. But Lila wasn't backing down. "You don't know anything about me," she shouted, the defiance sparking in her eyes. The crowd buzzed with disbelief, their collective breath held tight with confusion and judgment. All eyes were now on the three of them: Victor, Clara, Lila. Three sides to a puzzle that had been missing pieces for too long. Then, as if summoned by the tension, a flicker of movement caught Victor's eye, a flash of silver among the crowd. A man had pushed his way forward, his expression one of urgent, frenzied panic. Victor squinted, trying to make him out. A wild familiarity gnawed at the edges of his memory. "Mum!" the man yelled, desperation cracking his voice. "Mum, I told you not to come here." Time froze. Victor's heart hammered. He knew that voice. The recognition struck him like a lightning bolt. It was Jake, his childhood friend, the one who vanished after that terrible night, after everything fell apart. "Jake?" Voice trembled. "What's happening?" But Jake's eyes were locked on Lila, or rather Victoria. "You need to run. You don't understand." Gideon's gaze shifted, confusion morphing into outright fury. "Get that lunatic away from her!" Victor could feel the ground shifting beneath his feet. Why was Jake here? What connection did he have to this? But before he could process it, an ear-piercing noise shattered the air. A high-pitched scream intermingled with the crack of shattering glass. The moments stretched thin, aching with dread. The black SUV that Gideon had arrived in suddenly erupted in flames. A fiery explosion that sent debris spiraling into the crowd. People screamed and scattered, chaos erupting like a storm. "No!" Clara screamed, her hand grasping for Victor. "We have to go!" But he couldn't move. He was rooted in place, eyes fixated on the whirlwind of flames. And then, as if the universe conspired against them, a figure emerged from the wreckage. A woman, hurt and covered in soot, yet somehow unmistakable. "Victoria!" she cried, staggering forward. "Victoria, you don't know who you really are." All air left the scene. Victor's world tilted once more. The woman was older, but there was a familiarity in how she moved. "No!" Lila yelled, stepping back in disbelief. "Who are you?" "I'm your mother," the woman gasped, her voice cracking like dry leaves. "I lost you, both of you, to protect you from Gideon." Everything collapsed. Victor's stomach twisted. The fire blazed behind them, but his thoughts burned hotter. It felt like the walls of reality were crumbling. His mother? Right here, alive? How was this possible? Gideon's face turned ashen, panic darting through his eyes. "You're lying! You're a liar!" As the flames continued to roar, everything spiraled out of control. Victor's mind raced, heart pounded. Was it true? The secrets of his past tightening into a noose. Did he really have to face the truth his family had kept buried for so long? "You don't understand!" the woman struggled to explain, but the chaos was overwhelming. Lila looked back at Victor, desperation etched on her face. "What do you believe?" But before Victor could answer, An aftershock from the explosion knocked everyone off their feet. He fell, the earth shaking beneath him, and as he scrambled to regain his footing, he caught a glimmer of something metallic, half buried in the ash. His breath halted as he reached for it. The flash of a locket, engraved with initials he never thought he'd see again. V.C. Memories flooded back, reckless and jarring. The past wasn't just a haze, it was a dark entity reaching out to claim them. And right there, in the inferno of uncertainty and cracked revelations, Victor faced an unbearable truth. He wasn't just fighting for Leela or Clara. He was bound by blood to a twisted legacy that threatened to consume them all. The flames crackled, drawing closer, but something deeper burned in Victor's chest. He had to know. He had to find out who he really was, what it all meant. And as they stood, wrapped in confusion and fear, the crowd's murmurs grew louder, churning with speculation. Would they have the courage to confront the storm closing in? Or would they suffocate under the weight of family ties, shattered by time and lies? In the chaos of flames and secrets, Victor understood one thing. Everything was about to change again. Victor stood there, heart pounding against his ribcage. The flames raged behind him, illuminating the night with an orange glow. But the truth crashing over him felt even more explosive. Leela, the girl he had only seen as a beggar, was his sister. The thought left his head spinning. What do you mean? Lila's voice trembled, each word heavy with confusion. The woman, claiming to be their mother, took a step closer, his face worn and worried. "I'm here to save you both," she gasped, her breath hitching. "I never wanted to leave you." The crowd's whispers morphed into a cacophony of disbelief. People stared, their faces twisted in shock. No one could process the depth of what unfolded. Gideon squared his shoulders, fury radiating from him. "You're a madwoman," he shouted, steps closing in. "You'll ruin everything." Lila looked at Victor, eyes wide. "What's happening, Victor? Is she—" "Shh, just listen," he urged, while the world around them splintered into chaos. The heat from the fire pressed against his skin. But before anyone could grasp the gravity of the situation, a blinding light engulfed them all. A flash so bright, it felt as if the sun had exploded in their midst. Victor threw his arms up, instinctively shielding his eyes. Time froze. Then came the sound, like the world shattering into pieces. A massive blast erupted, shaking the ground beneath their feet. The flames, the crowd, everything disintegrated into a thunderous roar, engulfing all in its path. Victor could only hear the chaos as he stumbled backward, balancing on instinct. It was a wave of noise, screams melding with the crackling fire. He opened his eyes, just as debris rained down like confetti in a funeral procession. "Get down!" Clara shouted, pulling Victor to the ground. The ground trembled again. Each heartbeat echoed louder than the last. When the dust settled, fragments of memories hung in the air, like ghosts. He blinked through the haze. Leela was gone. His breath caught. Leela? He scanned the crowd, but the panic morphed into chaos, faces muddled by shock, screaming and scrambling. Then he saw her, lying motionless amidst the remnants of the fire. His heart dropped. No, Leela! Desperation surged as he clawed his way through the crowd, ignoring the burning ash that fell like a deadly rain. But as he reached her, a shadow passed overhead. A helicopter. The whirring blades slicing through the air sent panic rippling through the masses once more. "Gideon!" someone screamed, pointing up. "It's coming for him!" Victor's heart raced as he turned back. There, standing amidst the chaos, was Jake, fingers frantically trying to pull Clara away from the encroaching terror. "Clara, you can't stay here!" Victor's eyes locked onto the helicopter. It hovered low, the floodlights illuminating Gideon's terrified face, as if sensing the danger creeping closer. Dread settled deep within him like a stone. What did Gideon have planned? But then another revelation unfurled. As the crowd scattered, he noticed a figure emerging from the wreckage. A woman in a long coat, eyes obscured by dark glasses. Her presence radiated a palpable energy. Victor blinked, memories colliding. He recognized her face, even dulled by time. The last face he saw before everything shattered. The woman who had promised to protect him from the truth. "Mom?" he whispered, disbelieving. "Victor!" she called, voice piercing. Through the roar. "You must listen. It's not over. Secrecy holds the key." But even her words barely registered as the world spun around him. In the frenzy, the ground below collapsed, an explosion of dirt and concrete. The earth cracked open like raw flesh, swallowing everything in its wake. Victor watched it all. Lila, gone, the helicopter's blades roaring overhead, the uncertainty gripping his heart, turning it to ice. And then, in an instant, he knew. Everything he believed was a facade. Family, love, safety, all built on lies as deep as the chasm opening before him. "Mom, what did you do?" he cried as darkness loomed, realizing too late that the truth wasn't just a weapon. It was the very reason they were all gathered there. A tangled web woven with pain and betrayal. And before he could process it, everything they fought for hung by a thread, dangling over the edge of an unfathomable abyss. Desperation clawed at his throat. His next move, uncertain. Would he leap into the unknown? Join his newfound sister in the chaos? Or retreat into the familiar shadows of his old life? In the fiery chaos, everything they believed flickered just like the flames, dangerously close to being extinguished. Victor stood frozen as the chaos around him spiraled further into confusion. Lila, his sister, lay motionless on the ground, the flames licking closer with each heartbeat. His mother's desperate cry echoed in his ears, but all he could focus on was Lila, her chest rising and falling slowly. "Lila," he gasped, pushing through the crowd, shoving people aside. Fear tightened his throat. Each step felt like a lifetime. Suddenly, another explosion shook the ground. A deafening roar that cracked the air like thunder. People screamed and darted away as chunks of the burning SUV rained down like hail. "Run! Get back!" Clara shouted, pulling Jake close, shielding him. But Victor wasn't leaving. Not without Lila. "Please, please, please," he whispered, kneeling beside her. He shook her gently, desperate tears blurring his vision. "Wake up! Lila!" The chaos swirled around him, sirens wailing in the distance, smoke curling through the air. He felt a deep ache in his chest, an icy grip of dread settling over him. Then he heard it, a soft tremor beneath the noise. "Victor!" Lila murmured, eyes fluttering open. Relief crashed over him like a wave. Her voice was barely a whisper, but it ignited a spark of hope. But before he could respond, another figure appeared through the haze. It was his mother, determination etched in her face. "We have to go now. All of you," she urged, eyes darting. "Gideon will come back. We're not safe." Victor turned to Gideon, but the man was still focused on Lila, the rage in his eyes igniting a firestorm. "You think you can expose me? You're nothing." "No!" shouted Lila, pushing herself up, the strength returning. "I know what you've done." The crowd gasped collectively, but Victor felt the air thicken with tension as Lila's words hung in the air like a heavy storm cloud. A flicker of doubt crossed Gideon's face, but only for a moment. Silence! Her, he roared, eyes narrowing. More security scrambled toward them, and Victor's instincts screamed for action. He couldn't let them take her. He clenched his teeth, adrenaline flooding his veins. But just then, something extraordinary happened. A sudden, loud crack cut through the chaos. A crack much louder than any explosion before. The ground trembled violently again, this time shaking like an earthquake. "What the?" Victor gasped, stumbling. In the next instant, a blinding flash of light erupted. A swirling vortex opened right before him, a gaping hole in the air. The crowd screeched and scattered like frightened birds. "Victor, get away!" Clara screamed, pulling him back, but it was too late. The light swallowed everything, and just as swiftly as it appeared, the vortex sucked Leela in. Her body vanished into the glowing maw, an anguished scream echoing just before silence enveloped them all. Victor stumbled forward, reaching out, but it was as if the air was thick, pulling him back. He watched, helpless, as the vortex closed, leaving nothing but the smell of burnt rubber and fear in its wake. "Leela!" he cried, but his voice echoed hollow against the chaos. His mother fell to her knees, breathing fast, terror etched on her face. "She's gone!" Victor gasped, heart racing, the world blurring. But before he could wrap his mind around what had just happened, Jake shouted from behind. "It's not over! It was all a setup! They didn't just try to separate you. They wanted to make sure you never found out." "What? What are you talking about?" Victor struggled to grasp what he heard. Jake stepped closer, sweat glistening on his forehead. "You don't understand the power they wield. You and Leela, Victoria, you're not just connected to this. You are the key to stopping him." Victor's heart raced, confusion swirling like a storm around him. "What do you mean?" Then Jake searched Victor's eyes, desperation leaking through his words. "You have to figure it out. The truth about your family, everything they've hidden, it's all connected." Just as urgency filled the air again, Victor felt a deep, piercing emptiness. Leela was gone. The truth was slipping away, and the shadows of their past chased them closer than ever, swirling with danger. But amidst the ever-tightening grip of fear, one thought loomed larger than the rest. Was he ready to become the hero they needed in a story full of darkness? What would he have to lose now? As he turned to face the flames, uncertainty gnawed at him. Darkness chased them down, and a loud siren pierced the night. He had to act. But how? And then, with a heart full of dread and hope intertwined, Victor took a deep breath, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Victor stood in the shadow of chaos, heart pounding out a frantic beat, as he stared at the spot where Leela had vanished. The air was thick, laden with smoke, confusion, and something heavier that churned in his gut, a mix of fear and desperation. He felt it press against his chest, making it hard to breathe. "Where did she go?" he muttered, scanning the crowd, searching for any sign of her. Clara stood beside him, face pale, eyes wide, panic twisting her features. "Victor, we need to go. We can't stay here." Clara pulled at him, her voice shaking like the ground had moments ago. "No, I can't leave her." His words were raw, pulled from a place deep inside. He was done running, done hiding, but the thought of Leela lost in the chaos sent a wave of helplessness crashing over him. Then came the sound, a low rumble building beneath their feet. A second later, it became an explosion, louder than before, and they were forced to cover their ears as debris rained down from nearby buildings. People screamed, the chaos enveloping them like a dark mist. And then, figure, clad in black, leaped through the smoke and debris, landing firmly between Victor and Clara. It was Jake, eyes wide but intense. "Listen to me. We don't have much time." His voice cut through the chaos, urgent. But Victor couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. "What happened? Where's Leela?" Before Jake could answer, a blaring siren pierced the air, and the helipad overhead emerged from the swirling smoke. The helicopter, with its menacing spotlight, turned toward them. The beam of light landed on Jake, illuminating a face filled with determination, but marred by fear. "Gideon is coming back," Jake shouted. "He won't stop until he finds her." Victor's chest tightened. "We can't let that happen. We have to find her." Suddenly, a chilling laugh echoed through the smoke. Gideon appeared, stepping forward, power emanating from him like a dark cloud. "You can't save her, Victor. You don't even know who she truly is." "My sister," Victor spat, fury bubbling over. Gideon's eyes glinted. "But you've been led to believe that, haven't you? You think you're so clever, but there are things about your family you still don't understand. Secrets that will tear you apart." "What do you mean?" Clara stepped forward, shaking as she searched for answers. Victor wanted to yell back, wanted to drown out Gideon's mocking voice, but something in the man's tone sent a chill down his spine. Gideon's smile grew wider. "Oh, it's delicious, really. The truth is, Lila isn't who you think she is. She isn't even a Chase." Victor's heart dropped. "What are you saying?" "Her real name is Victoria Lawson, and she is the key to everything. The daughter of a secret that runs deeper than any of us. You thought you were the last of your bloodline, thought she was your sister, your salvation. But she's not. She's the very thing that could ruin everything." The crowd gasped, whispers swirling. Victor felt the floor drop beneath his feet. It was a revelation that cleaved through everything they believed. He looked at Leela's abandoned spot, the emptiness almost mocking him. "Leela," he breathed, but the name felt foreign now. Confusion flooded his mind like ink spilling over paper, distorting everything. "You need to decide, Victor. Are you willing to betray your own blood for her? To chase after a ghost?" Gideon leaned closer, his breath hot against Victor's skin. Victor's mind raced. If Lila wasn't his sister, if she wasn't a Chase, then who was she? What did that mean for him? For Clara? Suddenly, the ground trembled again, not with the force of explosions, but with fear and revelation so profound it echoed in the silence. The air shifted, thick with tension. And then, as if on cue, another flash of light exploded in the sky above. A beacon illuminated the night, pulling everyone's attention upward. Victor's heart raced as the helicopter began to descend, and a figure dangled from a harness below, a rescue operative. "Hold on," the figure shouted, arms outstretched. But Victor's eyes remained locked on Gideon, fear and anger boiling in his veins. In that moment, he knew he had to act. "Run," he shouted to Clara and Jake, adrenaline surging. "We have to find Leela before it's too late." But as he turned, another voice rang out, sharp and demanding. "Victor, stop!" It was Leela, or rather, Victoria. She stood there, somehow appearing out of the shadows, but she was changed. Eyes blazing with knowledge that sent shivers down his spine. "I need to tell you something, before it's too late." Victor's heart slammed against his ribcage. What was happening? What could she possibly say to change everything again? Desperation clawed at him as he rushed toward her, knowing that this moment could either tear them apart or weave them closer than ever. And as they stood there, surrounded by flames and chaos, Victor faced the daunting truth. The real battle was just beginning. Victor's heart raced as he stared at Lila. No, Victoria. Her face alight with urgency and something deeper, something raw. "You don't understand," she said, her voice trembling with the weight of secrets she was about to spill. The heat of the flames danced behind her, but all he felt was cold dread knotted in his stomach. "What is it?" he urged, desperate to know, desperate to pull the pieces together. Clara stood close, her eyes darting between them as if she could sense the tremors in the air. Jake hung back, tension rippling through him, as if he instinctively felt the storm brewing. "I've learned things that can change everything," Victoria said, shaking her head, struggling to catch her breath. "About our family, about Gideon. He's not just after me, he's after all of us." Before she could finish, something shifted. The ground beneath them quaked. A roar of chaos erupting as the copter overhead throbbed with a deafening whir. Bright beams of light swept through the smoke, illuminating the jagged remnants of the explosion. Victor turned to shield his eyes from the blinding glare. And then, the air grew thick, crackling with something otherworldly. He felt it before he saw it. A sudden rush, an unseen force that pulled him forward. "What's happening?" he shouted, but his voice drowned in the turmoil. And then, like a predatory beast leaping from the shadows, a figure emerged. A woman, her face hidden behind a mask, slipped through the haze with a speed that left everyone stunned. Victor's eyes widened as she approached, a strange gravity drawing him toward her. The noise faded. Time stretched. He felt his heartbeat echo in his ears. "Get back, all of you," she barked, her voice sharp, slicing through the air. "Who are you?" Clara cried, voice trembling. But the woman didn't respond. Instead, she lifted her hand, revealing a small device that shimmered with energy. Her eyes narrowed. "I know what you've lost. I know who you really are." And with a jolt, she pressed the device. An explosion of light enveloped them, so bright that it felt like the sun had erupted in their midst. Victor shielded his eyes, heart hammering. As the light faded, he blinked against the sudden darkness that followed. But then, everything shifted. The world around him felt like a dream unraveling. Victoria gasped beside him, clutching her head. "What did you—" "I've opened a path," the masked woman said, eyes glinting. "But it comes with a cost." "Cost!" Victor echoed, dread pooling in his stomach. "I needed to make a choice, to show you the truth," she said, her voice wavering. "Leela isn't just another face in the crowd. She is the key to our survival. But there's more you don't know." "Stop playing around. What do you mean?" Victor felt impatience boil over, but the woman's next words froze him cold. "Leela is your twin sister. Your parents hid the truth." "What?" Victor recoiled, his mind spinning. He couldn't comprehend. Who could possibly twist the truth like this? "You must be lying." "No," Victoria interjected, trembling. "I had dreams, visions of our past, of the family we lost. It's true, we were separated for a reason." His world teetered on the edge of confusion and pain. Was she truly saying that all this time he hadn't just been fighting to save a sister, but trying to reclaim a piece of himself he never knew existed? But before he could process it, the masked woman continued, fury bubbling beneath her words. "And Gideon, he knows all of this. He erased your memories, rewrote your past to control you. He's the puppeteer pulling the strings, and you're just marionettes in his twisted play." Victor's heart sank. "What do you mean, erased? Our family? They were lying?" "They kept you in the dark," the woman said, eyes burning with resolve. "But digging through the shadows had its cost. You have to make a choice, Victor. Face the truth or stay a pawn in this game." Just then, a blast of wind announced the helicopter's hovering presence above, and chaos erupted again. "Victor!" Clara shouted as the crowd surged, unnerved and desperate to escape the encroaching flames. The woman stepped forward, urgency driving her movements. It's time to decide. Expose Gideon and uncover what was taken from you, or retreat into the lives they've stitched together with lies. Victor felt the ground beneath him shift as reality twisted once more. There was no time to ponder. The world was slipping fast. He glanced at Victoria, her eyes reflecting the flickering flames of his previous understanding, and knew he had to act. As he took a step to follow destiny, the moment shattered. A sudden explosion from the copter's tail sent debris flying. The masked woman vanished like a phantom, and the crowd screamed. In the whirlwind of chaos, a question echoed through the wreckage of his thoughts. How deep did the lies run? What was real? And as he clutched Victoria's hand, a startling revelation hit him. Everything they believed was built on a fragile foundation. And now the storm was coming to tear it all apart. Victor's heart raced, and a cold chill ran down his spine as he stood face to face with Victoria, his sister. The flames crackled around them, heat licking at their skin, but all he could feel was the suffocating weight of the truth. Each breath felt heavier, thicker, as shock rippled through him. "What do you mean?" he pressed, feeling the urgency rise in him like a coiled spring ready to burst. "You're saying all this is because of our family? That Gideon?" Suddenly, the ground beneath them began to tremble again. A fierce roar erupted, and Victor barely had time to brace himself as a massive explosion shook the very air they breathed. A deafening blast, one that felt like it tore the fabric of their reality. Smoke and debris filled the air, swirling like a tornado, and bodies flew as people scrambled desperately to find safety. "Get down!" Clara shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos like a siren. Victor stumbled, instinctively pulling Victoria to the ground, but before he could process what was happening, a shadow fell over them. From the chaos emerged a figure, silhouetted against the flames. It was a man, a familiar face amid the horror, wearing a long coat that billowed around him. "Jake!" Victor shouted, confusion washing over him. But Jake wasn't looking at him. His eyes were fixed on Victoria, wild and desperate. "You have to listen to me!" he screamed. But even louder than his urgency was the sound of a gunshot that rang out, echoing amidst the chaos. Time seemed to slow as Victor turned, eyes wide with horror. Everything was happening too fast. The figure in the shadows lifted a firearm, eyes blazing with cold determination. A sickening sense of dread washed over Victor. "No!" He lunged, but it was too late. The bullet found its mark. Victoria gasped, the impact striking her with a force that made her crumple to the ground, as a scream tore itself from Victor's throat. "No, Victoria!" Panic surged through him, heart racing as he rushed to her side, eyes frantic. Clara was at his back, her scream lost in the maelstrom of chaos. "No, no." He pressed his hands to the wound, blood oozing between his fingers. The warmth seeped into his palms, and he felt the chill of fear grip his heart. "You can't leave me, not now." But as he looked into her eyes, something shifted. The fiery intensity dimmed, replaced by an unsettling calm. "Victor," she whispered, barely audibly, her breath shallow, "you have to understand, we were never just siblings. You must uncover the truth." Tears streamed down his face, mingled with the smoke in the air. People cried and stumbled around them, oblivious to the world collapsing in on him. Suddenly, the masked woman appeared again, gripping his arm with an iron intensity, a portal of glowing light swirling behind her. "We can save her." He shook his head, mind racing. "You don't understand. She needs help, not tricks. We can't lose her." The woman's eyes hardened. "This isn't a game, Victor. You must choose the truth or her life." With his heart in his throat, Victor felt torn. He looked at Victoria, gasping weakly, and in that moment the world crashed down. "What do you mean? What will happen?" "Your pain is not accidental," she strained to say, gasping for air. This was never an accident." And then it hit him. The weight of her words fell heavily on him like 1,000 stones. The past they'd fought to reclaim, there were layers upon layers of hidden truths beneath it all. Connections that danced between their fates. But then, in that moment of doubt and fear, another gunshot rang out. Victor barely had time to react as another figure stepped into view. A young girl, her face covered in soot, but eyes fierce and determined. "Stop!" she shouted, and in her hands she held a device, radiating a blinding light. With a flash, that light enveloped them, and everything spun wildly. And then, everything transformed. The hectic pain and chaos faded, replaced by a soft silence. Victor blinked, and in that moment, the world changed. The screams were gone. The burned remnants of the chaos behind them disappeared, and they were suspended in a strange, dreamlike space. "Welcome back," the girl stated, her voice echoing strangely. "You have a choice. You can walk away or face what you've become." In that moment of pause, realization crashed through Victor again. The stakes were even higher than he imagined. A fractured reality, woven together by ties of blood and betrayal. He had to decide, right there, at that strange precipice of reality, what was the truth, and did he even want to know anymore? Would a choice bring more pain, or was the light he could see beckoning him to something greater than he ever imagined? And with that last thought, Victor's heart raced into the unknown, venturing forward into the shadows. Victor felt the world around him spin as he stared into Victoria's eyes. They were filled with pain, but also a spark of something fierce, something alive. The chaotic backdrop of the flames and destruction seemed to fade as he held her gaze. "You're not going anywhere, okay? We're going to get out of this together." She managed a weak smile, her breath hitching. "You have to fight, Victor, not just for me, but for who you are." The explosion had created a rift in reality, and everything felt surreal. Clara and Jake stood nearby, wide-eyed, processing the madness unfolding around them. They were his lifeline. They were all he had left. "Listen!" shouted Jake, his eye darting around. "We don't have much time. Gideon is expecting us. We need to move." Victor nodded, adrenaline coursing through his veins. With one final look at Victoria, he helped her to her feet. "We'll figure this out, I promise." As they turned to escape, a sudden rush of wind blew past them, whipping at their clothes. The masked woman reappeared, urgency etched on her face. "No time to waste. Follow me." Victor's heart raced as he nodded. He took Victoria's hand, feeling the warmth seep through her trembling fingers. "Stay close." They dashed toward an alley, weaving through the chaotic scene, where shadows of uncertainty loomed large. Behind them, a cacophony erupted, the helicopter blades slicing through the air, the screams of terrified bystanders blending into an unbearable symphony of fear. "Why did he shoot her?" Victor heard Clara yell, panic tightening her voice. "Because he knows she's a threat," Jake replied, urgency thick in his tone. "But we can't turn back. We have to find the truth. Only then can we break free from his grip." "Right," Victor panted, determination washing over him. His past had been a prison of silence and lies, and now he had to face it, head on. He felt the weight of the blood secrets surrounding them. The memories, the pain, the love twisted in tragedy. They rushed through the narrow alley as flames licked at their heels. Behind them, Gideon's figure emerged from the chaos, furious eyes set ablaze with a mixture of hatred and desperation. You think you can escape? A roar of defiance built in Victor's throat. Run! He shouted, and they picked up speed. As they rounded the corner, Victor could almost hear the light breathing of shared secrets finally breaking free. Just then, they reached a small clearing, and the masked woman huddled them together. This ends now. You must remember who you are, Victor. I can't just leave her, he shouted, tearing his eyes toward Victoria, who struggled to keep her composure. You can save her, the woman urged, eyes fierce. But only if you trust in the power you hold. Your family's legacy is more than just lies. It's strength. With that, she activated the device again, and light enveloped them, swirling like a storm. Victor felt a rush, memories cascading down upon him. Laughter, tears, the faces of parents he'd long buried in the past. Remember. Okay, remember. His heart raced as the love and pain merged, forming a shield around them. Bring her back! The light grew brighter before fading. Suddenly, he was back in the alley. But the scene changed. Victoria stood before him, alive, filled with renewed energy. Victor, you did it! The world around them transformed into shadows, shifting into light. Together, we can break free, he shouted, hope swelling with each word. They turned to face Gideon, who now only seemed a shadow of his former self. You thought you could destroy us? Victor exclaimed, clenched fists at his sides. Your time is over, Clara yelled, stepping toward him. We'll unearth the truth. Gideon glared, but he stepped back, sensing the rising power around them. You can't do this! We can and we will, they echoed. And as the light blazed brighter, it cast all dark upon him, pushing Gideon back. In that moment, Victor felt the chains of his family legacy shatter. He was freed, not just for himself, but for everyone lost in the echoes of the past. Together, they stood strong, arms intertwined, ready to face whatever lay ahead. As the embers of chaos settled, Victor found a new clarity. He felt the weight of hope pressing against his heart, buoyed by love stronger than fear. They were united through blood, through struggle. But as dawn broke over the horizon, painting the skies in golden hues, an unsettling thought lingered in his mind. What truly lay ahead? New. Questions hung in the air, mysteries waiting to unfold. This wasn't the end, it was just the beginning. And now, dear viewers, to embark on the next adventure, you must subscribe to the channel immediately so you don't miss out on more exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help us keep going. We want to hear from you, so flood the comment section with your thoughts, reactions, and theories about this ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to know about what happens next. Before you leave, stick around. Click on the exciting story at the end of this video. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Let's keep this journey alive.